Hello, I'm Patrick Tibian, and welcome back to a new episode of discovering and learning about my audiophile system. Today, we're going to talk about things that actually don't make sense initially, but add phenomenal quality to a sound system. It's not intuitive, it's hard to understand, it's even very difficult to understand at times, but cables and tables make a difference. And I learned that the hard way. I remember my first audiophile system. I had purchased the components, and we were down to the speaker wire. And I told the dealer, I said, "Give me the very best you can find. I don't care what it costs." Thinking a few $100, a couple of thousand at the most, and that's what I want. Okay, so he orders it. A couple of months later, I see a $10,000 charge on my Amex, and I call, and it was from the dealer. I said, "I saw a $10,000 charge on my Amex." I said, "What the hell are you doing?" He goes, "You asked me to get you cables, didn't you?" "That's for cables? 10 grand?" I said, "People can get killed for less than that." You're charging a man 10 grand without telling him, and it's for cables? I went nuts. And I said, "How good are those cables going to be?" Anyway, I put him in, and because it was the first one, what do I compare it with, right? So I pretended I was happy because it's 10 grand spent on something that's really good. But now I don't have any other reference, so I'm very happy, right? I was happy, but I didn't know why. But over the years, I learned. This was some 30 years ago. Over the years, I learned about cables, loudspeaker cables, and I also discovered that 10,000 was actually not that expensive compared to where some of those guys are going. Today, you can find speaker cables for about $80,000, $90,000 a pair for 8 foot long pair. Yep. And is it better than the 10 grand? We'll find out. But you can appreciate how difficult it is to comprehend that cables are that money, and they actually add that much sonic value. So my first one was great, but I had nothing to compare it to. But then what do you do when you upgrade? So that's when I start to do more reading. And because my cables were aging, about 15 years, and then it was time to get the next new thing. By then, I knew what I was looking at. I had been reading several years on the publications, and I discovered why cables make a huge difference. Again, it's about transmission. We have an origin and we have an end to the musical signal. And you want that to be as integral as possible so that you don't lose anything from the reference recording, right? So whatever happens between that and your ear is not always a straight line, and there's many interferences and sonic signatures of components on the way. Their job is to get out of the way, and that's not always easy. It's in fact not even done with materials that are cheap. So far we know of silver and gold being damn good at it. I think there's some that sprinkled diamond, I'm not sure, but I wouldn't be that far off if that were true. And then God knows the engineering that goes behind how they suspend, isolate, and or other things, the cable, so that it can deliver the signal uninterrupted and without any new sonic footprint. That's very difficult to do. Of course, different engineers have different approaches. So that's why you have so many different speaker companies that are out there now, a lot of them high-end, and each have their own theory of why they did what they did, basically. I picked a company that initially their story said a lot to me, resonated very well with me, and I'll make it very simple. It's a company, it's Nordost, and they're well known in the audiophile circles. Nordost started its life as as making medical imaging medical devices things that show what's inside your body, basically. And they discovered that the cable between their equipment had a significant impact. And when it was a pure lossless kind of cable with whatever material was needed for that, the images were much better. And so the doctors were able to do better, more accurate diagnostics. And then they went on to make cables for speakers and interconnects. So that right away told me, again, I like the purist companies that are specialized in their technology and they stick to it without getting into other things. So I love the story of this company, starting out with the medical imaging, then delivering sonic transparency. Basically, that's what you want, is sonic transparency. So off I go in more expensive speaker cables, but now I know why, and I can compare to my 10,000 original one. Of course, as soon as the cables came in and were connected, no conversation. The ears tell you everything. Sound opens up, there's more detail, you feel more intimately involved, and next thing you know, you're right there. If it's a quartet, you're gonna be in the room. A small orchestra, you're in the room. A jazz quartet, that's the best because of the dynamics of the instruments. An orchestra, you can actually tell where they're sitting. That's how good it gets. So, start out with the speakers. Now we have great speaker cables, but the battle doesn't stop there. There's also interconnects. In fact, there's a lot of interconnects. Each one of these components is connected by a wire, a cable, right? In addition to speaker cable, we have the same type of technology for sonic transparency and authenticity. There's interconnects. So when the preamp is connected to the amp, that cable is also audiophile grade. Just for your reference, all of my cables are from Nordost Valhalla 2. It's one of their top ranges, not the top. There's double the price up there, but these are plenty good. Again, I actually audition each set of cable, or before and after. The decision was very easy once there. It did take me a while to actually even want to get a demo, but once I did, it was automatic. So I went ahead and I did everything that way, the interconnects. Then there's another category with the digital interconnects. They require different things than other cables for transmitting lossless. So they have their own engineering specialty. They're quite pricey, the digital connects, but I have that here too because it's part of the integrity of the entire system. Everything was done A/B comparison, and each time I got a new sound that was even more intimate than before and more true. So by the time I finished all this, I came to the conclusion that cables are important as an amplifier and a speaker, if not more, which is a very difficult thing to understand and believe. I didn't for years. And so now I'm going to get to one final element that blew my mind in terms of shock value. It's the stands. The stands. The stands are expensive. They also have $1 million prices. I'm exaggerating, but phenomenal pricing for a shelf. They tout that they isolate. They tout that they isolate without isolating completely. They isolate vibration. Okay, how good is that? Isolate vibration? Okay. I thought the turntable already had isolation. Oh no, this is different. But it also works on components. Oh really? Let's see. So because a shelf of this caliber will run you a mid-five figure, initially I felt a little stupid contemplating that, but I actually went ahead and did it because for me, it was the last place that could offer a sonic improvement in my system without changing everything. So was the thought at the first. So I first ordered this, which was going to be critical because it was for my turntable. That's the first thing you want isolated. And the electronics, specifically the signal processing ones in particular, the CD, the phono, the preamp, and the equalizer. And I said, if I hear something here, then we'll see what happens, and I may go further. So I wait 3 months, shelves come in, we put it back together. I had a new sound system. That's how impactful it was. Of all things I've done, this was probably the most significant upgrade for the money. I could not believe the difference. I could not believe the difference. Made me feel a lot better spending the money I did, for sure, which meant I had to spend more because now I wanted it for the amplifiers too, which I did. But this was phenomenal. I'm telling you because I want you to know that. It's remarkable because it's hard to believe. I was skeptical, a knowledgeable skeptical. Day and night difference, day and night. A good example is my turntable, for instance. If I have it very loud, playing very loud, and there's a bunch of us walking around, it's a party, we might want to dance to it, we will hear that picked up. With this, you can jump up and down right here, and it will not affect a single note. That's the difference. So if you can imagine that with things that you don't hear and that are around, that influence sound, then you'll understand why. But of course, nothing convinces you like listening to it before and after. So yes, there was always a sonic improvement with each component. In fact, we talked earlier, in an earlier episode, we talked about how these speakers were here for 25 years almost. But it's not, I never heard the same sound in the last 25 years. That sound has kept improving with each and every component I added. When the new speaker cables came, new system. When all the interconnects came, new again. And when the table came, the whole thing changed. So I enjoy the new system every other year because of all the other non-electronic improvements I made. And that's what kept me with these, because it got so much better. I thought it was ridiculous to move on from what I heard. These things matter, trust me. And all you have to do is A/B, because nothing works like a comparison. Again, I can afford to buy these things from a monetary standpoint, but that's not how I spend my money. I like to know that I spend it on something I researched. I researched well, and I picked the particular one I did because of a combination of reasons that all add up to possibly a better sound, with very strong opinion about why it should make a difference at this point. So, that being said, don't underestimate the table or the cable. And on this note, we'll say goodbye for this episode. I'm Patrick Tibian, and I welcome you for the next episode soon.